Hey, thank you for checking out this video. This is PowerStroke Maintenance, and today I'm going to be going through the top 3 Ford diesel engine problems that keep me up at night. Problem number 1. It's the one that has plagued not just Fords, but also certain years of the 6.7 Cummins. It is the illustrious CP4 high-pressure injection pump. This pump loves to blow itself up if it gets water, low quality fuel, and doesn't have the lubrication to run that roller bearing in the correct direction. The roller bearing can flip sideways and hog out the cam, and it will send the metal fragments from the cam all throughout your engine, making it no start or stall or any other number of things. It's just incredible that Ford hasn't decided to fix this yet, but the good news is there is a fix. The fix for the CP4 is from the same company. I suppose you could put a CP3 in, but why would you? I know some people do that on other trucks, but S&S Diesel makes a disaster prevention kit, which I have, which creates a bypass and filter that blocks the metal from getting sent into your engine, into the rest of your high pressure fuel system. It isolates the pump, so a failure will not cause your entire engine to fail. It'll be isolated at the pump. That's an awesome option. It's about $400. More expensive option is S&S released the DCR pump, which also increases the flow from the stock pump by about 25%, I believe. So awesome application, except it's not $400, it's $2,000. Now, if you didn't already buy a disaster prevention kit and you feel like you're going to keep your truck for a while, I feel like just investing in a DCR is the way to go. But either way, there's 2 solutions to the CP4. You can do the disaster prevention kit or the DCR, both from S&S. Problem number 2 with the Ford PowerStroke 6.7 diesel engine that really bugs me and has bugged me until I had a fix for it was the CCV box. So a lot of times when you get leaks, whether it's from your upper or lower oil pan, a lot of those are caused by excessive crankcase pressure, and that is often caused by the CCV box, which is supposed to take your crankcase gases, condense them, and then put them back into your intake, for the vapors back into your intake, and any oil back into the crankcase itself. And so a lot of those older trucks had replaceable filters in them and people forgot to replace them. But Ford, I really think it was Ford's fault because they didn't really give a service interval for them or talk about it or be like, hey, you need to fix this. It was just like a mysterious box back near your firewall. For a lot of people, the crankcase box got plugged, and so then their crankcase pressure built up and it forced leaks through the seals in the upper and lower oil pan and any other place. There's a couple bad ones. I know Flying Wrenches, his YouTube channel, he has a ton of videos on the CCV box, so check him out. Terrible design. I mean, it's a emissions component, but there are 2 solutions to this one as well. First solution, you can just get rid of it. There's lots of CCV reroute kits. I know Pusher makes a kit. I know SPE makes a kit. You can put that on your truck and it'll dump the fumes, behind your cab, and then you just don't have to worry about ever changing the box. The second solution is you take off the replaceable filter box and you replace it with the one that doesn't have a replaceable filter, which is what Ford came up with. Now, according to Flying Wrenches, he said you should still try to replace that box every 100K, and I agree. I mean, it's a sealed container. If something fails, you don't want to have your cab pulled to reseal the upper oil pan. You can remove the CCV box, do a CCV reroute, or just replace your box regularly. The last thing that I worry about with my engine, I know there could be other issues, and if you think of one that I missed, drop a comment below. I know for like the 2011, 2012s, they had ceramic turbo bearings, and then some of those earlier 6.7s also had problems with the radiators cracking. I have not had any of those issues. I have a 2019 6.7, so I'm not particularly worried about those for the engine. The last thing I worry about is oil starvation issues. So there's a video I'll link to below from Dave's Auto Center, and he talks about, basically takes apart a 6.7 engine and shows you just how far the oil has to travel from the pan until it gets to the pistons and the rest of the engine, and it's kind of spooky. And so there's been a bunch of videos done on whether or not to pre-fill an oil filter, and based on what Dave's Auto Center says and what Lakespeed Jr. says, which I'll just link to his video below, I choose to pre-fill my oil filter. I put it right through the center. I don't worry about filtering it. The oil is not contaminated if you just pour it into the center of the filter. It's brand new oil. I don't understand why some people are so silly. Anyway, but I pre-fill my oil filter to mitigate that. I know there's a way to, like, it's called like dry flooding. I know you're not supposed to do it with diesels, but like my wife has a Subaru with the filters upside down, and obviously you're not going to be able to pre-fill that and then put it on. So like I'll flood start her car or dry flood her car, or whatever it's called. Anyway, you need to be making sure the right amount of oil is going in. Like the other thing I would say, this one is less of like there's a fix for it, more just preventative maintenance. So make sure if you're having someone else do your oil change, you check the dipstick to make sure there's the right amount of oil in there. It's 13 quarts. It all needs to be in there. And then secondly, just try to pre-fill your oil filter. I know there's a lot of people that say it doesn't matter, and in the Lakespeed Jr. video, it does matter, even though I think it's kind of minor. I'll probably do a separate video on this, but essentially you get a lot more metal from dry starting without pre-filling your filter than you do without. So there is wear on the engine. Now, is it enough, over 500,000 miles to completely kill your engine? Probably not, but it's still not good for it. So I would just recommend pre-filling your filter. You cannot, don't bother, but if you watch the video from Dave's Auto Center, you'll see that the oil has to travel a really long way before it gets to the components it needs to be lubricating. And so you should just pre-fill your filter. It's not that hard. So those were the three things that keep me up at night with my Ford diesel engine. The only other thing I would give as a bonus is obviously there's the good old EGR cooler, if you do still have that. And those are pretty terrible, but I don't worry about mine as much because I am always running some sort of additive, and then every 5,000 miles I run a DPF and EGR cleaner, an emission system cleaner that helps get rid of all the gunk and the soot. And, on top of that, if you're also replacing your CCV box, your intake will be getting a lot less of that oil gunk that will then get in and just get caked all over everything in your intake. At the end of the day, take care of your truck. It will take care of you. My truck has almost 128,000 on it now, and we are going to put a whole lot more on it this year. So maintenance is my number one priority. I appreciate you watching this video. I hope it was helpful. Again, if I missed something in terms of an issue that you've had with your truck, with the motor, this is a engine specific video, drop a comment below. I love to hear from people. I love to get your feedback. Thank you again. We'll see you next time here on PowerStroke Maintenance. Cheers.